Hey everybody, it's Charlie from Daily Motor, and this is the all-new Cadillac Escalade IQ L. What that means is this is a full-sized GM SUV in the most luxurious form, and it is entirely electric. And the L is telling you that it is the long version. Cadillac Escalade IQ being the shorter electric one, and normal Escalade being not electric at all. This one you're looking at about $153,000. It's sort of a mid to upper level trim. It's not the most expensive IQL you could get. It's also not the most affordable. And there's a whole lot to talk about here today, ladies and gentlemen. So let us get right on into it. No video sponsors, no special promotions. Let's go. But I should let you know that we do have some other videos on the IQL. If you want to check those out, we have a dedicated review of the 38-speaker AKG reference audio system. You can find that linked below at DM Sound. And then also we have a dedicated range test for this truck. I took it out at 70 miles per hour, did 100 miles, came back, charged it all the way up to see how efficient it is. Also, it looks like I need to apologize to the owner of this building because we have left some marks on their concrete. I was trying to tuck it in here to get it out of the sun to show you all around the vehicle. So, oops, right there. So we're gonna go through my pros and cons with the Escalade IQL after spending a week, but let me give you a little overview around the truck starting off. You can open it up here, and what you see inside is pretty standard fare GM SUV. GM does a great job, General Motors, at their full-size SUVs. The Suburban, the Tahoe, the Yukon, Yukon XL, and the Escalade and Escalade L. Is that what they call it? Escalade L? Yeah, I guess so. This is a box. Don't mind that, but you can see how much space there is in here. You do still get some underfloor storage, which is cool because you got a charger in there, as well as some maybe equipment should you get a flat tire with these big 24-inch wheels. Power third row. You can power those down very nicely, and also power retracting. Come on. Do your thing. There it is. Second row. Now that won't come back without me walking up to go get it, but I can bring the third row back up and then go up there. And this is very nice because you don't want to be any sort of really sized individual, but especially a shorter individual trying to reach forward and adjust these seats. You also have a wall style outlet, some lighting, and some hooks. And because this is the L model, enough space back here that we actually had our full-sized Up-A-Baby stroller, as well as some beach gear, still fitted in here with the third row up. It's nice to have that for family. Charge port right here, power open, like to see that. This is the NAC style charger that goes up to 350 kilowatts of charging speed, and that is very achievable here with this 205 kilowatt hour battery pack, which we're going to talk about a little later on. Very easy to climb on back, fold this back up, and then one of the beauties of, again, the General Motors full-size SUVs is having enough space back here for real people. You can put adults back into this third row and have them sit 1, 2, 3 and still be very comfortable. I'm 5'10". I've got headroom, I've got air vents right here for me. I have a USB-C port, even a padded place to put my arm, and a cup holder. So nice place to be back here for any size people, or at least average to above average size people. And then coming into the second row, I can scoot this seat back, very straightforward. Power close the doors. See this uncoverable panoramic sunroof. Flip down my armrests. I've got heated seats back here. I believe in the top level trim you get heated and ventilated seats as well. Now, the vehicle is off. I don't think there's anything I can do about that without getting up into the driver's seat, but you have screens back here that give you media, YouTube, Netflix, anything you want to see. Air vents, not in the ceiling, but at least air vents here. A power screen back here that gives you control over your climate, as well as a plethora of power points as well. And of course, plenty of space. However, I don't believe you can get a second row bench with the electric Escalade. I don't think you can turn this into an 8-seater. Potentially a little disappointing for somebody looking to maximize the utility of their vehicle. Also, finding baby things. Then coming into the front. Oh, go ahead. You can close. Come on, your power. Why don't you want to close now? There you go. Coming into the front, you are greeted with a very beautiful use of materials, and put my foot on the brake. Not only does the vehicle come to life, but my door closes. I am greeted with a very large array of screens, The climate is blowing for some reason. I don't quite know why, because I'm pretty sure it is off. Ah, the rear was on. There we go, turn that off. Can we just sync everything? Off? Come on. That sounds good, doesn't it? Third row climate, that's off as well. Okay. What do we got going on here? Yeah, nice place to be. Nice use of materials. Everything looks good. Screens built into the dash, although it does mean they're quite far away. So Cadillac gives you this rotary knob to be able to move around the infotainment system. We'll talk about that a little bit more in the pros and cons. Super Cruise on here. Love having that. Good controls around the vehicle. Good amount of space storage stuff spots around. Double wireless charger. Like seeing that. Could use a little bit more space over for the passenger, but they do get a screen at least to do stuff, I guess. And good sized cup holders. And a trailer brake controller, because you do have a significantly high 9,000 pound towing capacity here on the Escalade IQL. Now, for you frequent viewers of Daily Motor, you will notice that we are doing the pros and cons in opposite direction today. We are starting with the pros. And the first one is the wow factor here for the Escalade IQ. I'm mostly just going to call it the IQ, because pretty much everything in this review applies to the normal IQ as well as this IQL. Oftentimes I talk about styling here, but to me it's more than styling, because the styling is striking on this truck. You've got huge dramatic LEDs, that cool Cadillac logo there, big 24-inch wheels, huge grille, huge hood, which I did forget to show you guys that we do have a frunk here that power opens. Look at this giant hood coming up to reveal a great frunk. But again, this kind of goes into the wow factor as well. Got a power point there too. There's so much about this vehicle. Oh, can I not close this from the key? What if I hold it? Does that work? Yeah, there we go. Look at that. Anyway, there's so much about this truck that is a wow factor. People are curious. They go, is this fully electric? That's awesome. And then they want to see it. They want to look at it. They want to be inside it. You got the power open doors. You have the 38 speaker sound system. You have the incredible 0 to 60 from this very powerful all-wheel drive setup. And there's so much about this truck that is wow and impressive and exciting. So for somebody like me who reviews so many new cars that I ended up just kind of getting jaded, this was one that was actually exciting to me, and I was looking forward to reviewing it and covering it, and I liked spending time with it because there is just so much going on inside, outside, and from kind of a technology standpoint. It's pretty darn cool. So if you're somebody who wants to have a shiny new product in your driveway that people are curious in and ask about, this is going to do it, trust me. But then at the same time, to people who don't care, this just looks like an Escalade. They're like, oh yeah, this must be the new Escalade or something. I mean, it's not so wow and look at me and futuristic that it's weird and that it like, kind of sticks out like a sore thumb. It's more of a statement than an exclamation point, I guess. Next pro. I said it a little bit already, showing you around the vehicle, but it's GM's excellence in three-row vehicles, and specifically large three-row vehicles. The fact that everything around here works so easily and so straightforward. There are people that I've recommended this car to, not necessarily because it's electric, and not necessarily because I think it is the best car on the road, but because it would work so well for their lifestyle. It allows you to put large people and things and take significant length trips and be comfortable. You can tow with it, you can haul with it. This vehicle has so much utility. Now, if it's just you and maybe one other person or just one or two kids, yeah, you probably don't need a vehicle this large. But some people do, and some people really do maximize their vehicles. So having roof rails that go the length of the roof and having towing capacity and hauling capacity and a 460-mile mixed driving electric range, that is pretty impressive, and it's useful. So GM still does my favorite full-size SUVs, electric or gas. Not to mention, nobody's doing an electric vehicle this large. The Rivian isn't this big. The Hyundai and the Kia and the Toyota, not this large. Ford, not even playing in the game right now. So if you want to go electric, and take 7 full-size people in comfort, this is what you get. Next pro, this might seem subtle, but the auto opening and closing doors. I don't understand why more luxury vehicles don't do this, especially because Tesla has had it on the Model S and Model Y for so long. Now, these can open further if I set them to it, or not as far, but just being able to pop the door open for someone, and then they get in, and then you as the driver go, don't worry, let me get that for you, honey. And it closes like that. I mean, that's luxury. It's something that you have to interact with every single time you get in and out of your vehicle. Why not make it that much smoother? And then you get out and just go, okay, walk away. That is how a luxury vehicle should be. And for me, if I'm spending this sort of money, I want auto open and close doors. Next pro. I was gonna say starting up the IQL, but it's already started. So getting it out here on the road. This powertrain. If you haven't driven an electric vehicle, my, is this how luxury cars should be. GM has their electric powertrains so nicely dialed in at this point. It's smooth, it's progressive, it's powerful, it's quiet. Everything about driving this from a speeding up and slowing down perspective is borderline perfect. Not only do you have great acceleration, great linear, smooth acceleration, but the deceleration is great as well. Now, I have it on one pedal driving high, which means this thing will dramatically slow itself down as soon as I release the accelerator, and it'll bring itself all the way to a stop. Beautifully, one pedal drive, get back going again. But you can adjust that. You can have normal one pedal driving, or you can turn one pedal driving off. And then you can modulate your regen braking with this little progressive paddle on the left side as well. You can tell that this is where the years of electric vehicle experience are coming in to advantage for General Motors. They come out with a vehicle like this, and then when you get out on the road, you can either smoothly get up to speed, or you can press V and punch it. And then you're going 60 miles per hour just like that. But then on top of all of that, this thing is remarkably affordable to drive compared to other vehicles with this size and capability. If I were in a normal gasoline Escalade with a 6.2 liter V8, which mind you is making significantly less power than this, I'd probably be getting about 14 or so miles per gallon throughout mixed driving, mixture of city and highway. Premium fuel right now, $5 a gallon here in California. I can't do the precise math to get a cost per mile on that, but $5 every 15 miles or so to make it easy. Now with the electric Escalade, I've been getting about 2 miles per kilowatt hour across all of my driving. You can see over the last 231 miles and last 130, been getting 2 miles per kilowatt hour. And at home, charging in off-peak hours, even here in California, costs, let's just say, about 30 cents per kilowatt hour. So that means every 2 miles it's costing me 30 cents. So that means about 7.5 kilowatt hours used to go that same 15 miles. 7 times 3, 21. This is costing me about $2.20-30 or so to drive that same 15 miles. So half the cost of driving the gasoline Escalade. Not to mention, every time I leave from my house, I have a full state of charge, and I can do over 400 miles comfortably with that state of charge. Who's doing more than 400 miles in their average day-to-day driving? Not many people. So yes, you're going to pay more to purchase the Escalade IQ as opposed to the standard Escalade, but the driving experience is more pleasant, it's more powerful, and it costs you about half as much at current prices. Now, if you're spending even less on electricity or more on gasoline, obviously that's going to change even more dramatically. So, I love the powertrain here. I don't care that we've got a giant battery underneath us and it's debatably overkill. I think this is fantastic. Now, let's dive into that range a little bit more for my next pro. Yes, the range figure of 460 miles is impressive in and of itself if you just consider the fact, okay, if I charged this up to 100 and drove with just myself around any sort of driving, I could comfortably do about 450 miles. But what's more impressive with that is that means I could fill this vehicle up with people and some stuff, and I could leave my house with 100% state of charge, and I could drive for, let's say if I'm going 70 miles per hour, 4 to 5 hours, and still comfortably get to an electric charging station with about 20% state of charge. I could charge up to 80, 90% or so at a very high charging rate, and I could hit the road again after maybe 45 minutes or so. We've gone in, used the bathroom, grabbed a bite to eat, continue on my way, and then I could do another 300 miles or so comfortably, going from 80% maybe down to about 30 or 20% again. All of that is to say, this is one of the first full-size family vehicles like this that has a real usable amount of range, which means it's not going to matter if it's cold outside, it's not going to matter if you've got extra people in the car, it's not going to matter if you're speeding a little bit. You can still comfortably use this vehicle with the amount of battery capacity you have on board. I think that's fantastic. Next pro, rear wheel steering. The wheels in the back of the Escalade here turn with the front wheels, meaning I can do remarkably tight U-turns. You can be in a standard size road, U-turn in it, no problem with this vehicle. It makes it so easy to maneuver despite its ponderous size. And yes, you can also turn the wheels, I guess, in the same direction as the front wheels to do this arrival mode. It's kind of a gimmick. It's sort of cool, but it's much more useful, the fact we have rear wheel steering, to make this vehicle nimble in lower speed and higher speed driving situations. Coming back here static for my cons. And the cons for me are really tough with this car because they're so classic GM. And it's disappointing to me because the engineers did an amazing job with this vehicle. The hardware aspects and the core essence of what makes this a vehicle, fantastic. But then the cost cutting comes in the interior. And it's a mixture of not only cost cutting, but also poor vehicle oversight and a lack of execution when it comes to how this car should work. It can be tough for me to communicate this to you through a video without you truly experiencing the car itself. But if you're somebody who is open-minded to many different types of luxury vehicles and you cross-shop between Cadillac and BMW and Mercedes and Lexus and I guess those are the main players. Well, you could even count in someone like Porsche, Bentley, get into those sort of vehicles. There's too much going on in this car. It's too technologically busy. I understand that they wanted to try to simplify things by adding this screen that's closer to the driver, easier to touch, but there's a lack of UI polish and design and overall thought that makes this vehicle overwhelming to use. This would take a long time to get very comfortable with your controls, where things are, how you utilize things. So it's one thing that the overall execution and how everything works in here is not particularly intuitive and easy to use, but then I've had actual technological issues with this car. Right now, you'll see it is 10:31 here on the clock, but let me show you this footage from 30 minutes ago when the clock was wrong. In here shooting the sound test this morning, and I see that the Escalade has suddenly decided that it's 8 o'clock in the morning, even though it is in fact 10 o'clock. I don't know if the car all of a sudden thinks that we drove to the central time zone or what. I'm pretty sure the clock was accurate throughout the week that I've been driving, so I don't know what happened. Let's open up the map, see if it has our accurate location. Yeah, no, it shows us here in California, so not exactly sure why the clock changed. Electronics, baby. Then, let me show you, I think I have some of this footage. It's got copyrighted music playing because it's from our members only sound test, but I was doing the highway fuel economy test with this. We're driving along, set at 71 miles per hour as we always do, and the vehicle would randomly drop down to 61 miles per hour without any sort of warning or notification. A few times it jumped all the way up to 75 miles per hour. Those are core issues with cruise control. I mean, cruise control is something that should be very straightforward. It's not exactly breakthrough technology. I'm not talking about super cruise or active lane keeping giving up or anything like that. I'm talking about normal cruise control, holding your speed, not working right. And then while we were doing our members only sound test, The audio modes weren't there. The surround sound mode wasn't adjustable. That was entirely missing from the system. So I have had core issues and malfunctions and bugs with the technology here in the Escalade IQ, and that's frustrating when you're paying this sort of money for a vehicle. You want a polished experience. And not only that, but you spend time in something like a Tesla, and you realize that car infotainment doesn't have to suck. It can be a pleasant, positive experience, and then you get into something like this and you realize, oh, they just threw a lot of screens, doesn't work that well. And then, on top of all of that, the screen brightness is too low. We're sitting right here in the shade and it's not so bad, but when we're out here on the road, you'll see it's hard to see these screens in the daylight. And I've gone and made sure my brightness is all the way up. Still, very difficult to see and to work with these screens in bright daylight. Next two cons are a little minor, but something to point out nonetheless. This giant sunroof is not very tinted and also doesn't have a shade. I'm somebody who typically drives with my sunshade closed when I have a sunroof. Now, in the evening or something like that, I might like to open it, but in general, I like to have it closed. So very frustrating to me that we have this giant glass roof and no way to cover it. And then next, this, you probably wouldn't be told this, but you would know that something is wrong when you test drive one of these vehicles. This car weighs about 9,000 pounds. And because of that, it's considered to be in an upper class of vehicle based on GVWR. And there's some weird United States law that states that the outside mirrors are not allowed to be convex for a vehicle of this weight class. So you see how there's no text right here that says objects in mirror are closer than they appear? That's because this is a flat piece of glass, and most cars that you're used to driving have convex glass here. And that makes it so that when you're driving the Escalade IQL or any of these very large GM SUVs, the electric ones, because they're so heavy, you can barely see out of that mirror because you're expecting to see so much more traffic around you, and you can't because it's a flat piece of glass. It's very, very strange, and it throws you off while driving. Next con, again, fairly minor, but annoying nonetheless. The lower two trims of the Escalade IQ get a slower level 2 charging speed than the upper trims. I think it's 11.2 kilowatts for the lower trims and 19.2 for the upper. Now, most people on their chargers at home aren't really going to notice that difference. But the frustration to me is that electric vehicles still have so far to go in the general public perception. And it's still a wild west of questions. How fast does it charge? How long does it take to charge? How much does it cost to charge? And people who really know electric vehicles know that those questions are hardly relevant because it all depends on what type of charger you're using, what's your state of charge, what's the outside temperature, what's the cost per kilowatt hour, all of these different factors. So GM is only making it more confusing and more difficult for the end user when they say, okay, well, how long will it take to charge if I drive 200 miles and come back to my house and charge it up? They have to say, oh, well, it's going to take longer if you have a lower trim level than if you have an upper trim level. Come on, you're not doing anybody any favors. You're just cheaping out by having a slower onboard charger. Can you imagine if you bought a gasoline vehicle and they said, oh, well, we actually have a smaller filler neck on the lower trim, so it's going to take you about 3 minutes to fill up your car with gas if you buy a lower trim model, but if you get an upper trim, it's only going to take about a minute to fill up your tank with gas. Come on, Cadillac. We're not talking about a Chevy here. You just make it easy for people. Give us one onboard charger. Next con, the primary ride. What I mean by that is there's sort of two elements of suspension evaluation. There's the initial impact harshness when you go over cracks in the road or little speed bumps or something like that. What's that initial feel? And then there's secondary ride, which is, okay, if you go over a big bump, how does the car sort of settle down after that? Secondary ride's great. The suspension tuning, really good. Heavy vehicle, it's all kind of tuned nicely to smooth itself out. But these tires have to be filled to a very, very high PSI, a very high tire pressure, in order to support the 9,000 pound weight of this car. So that means you've got these really rock hard inflated tires. So any little bump I go over like these, let's see, right, can I get over them? Okay, you might have been able to hear that. Or things like speed bumps, cracks in the road, anything like that. You're feeling them and you're hearing them come through this cabin. It's disappointing from a luxury vehicle standpoint when you're expecting more of a soft, smooth, and absorbed ride that you'd get with lower inflated tires. That kind of leads into my last con here. It's the overall luxury quotient of this Escalade. If you are comparing this to something like a traditional German luxury brand, it's disappointing. You can tell that Cadillac had to cut some corners in order to make the price not prohibitively high for this electric powertrain version of the Escalade. But even the normal Escalade, you can tell there are elements like this rotary knob compared to the feel of the rotary knob in the BMW, or these air vents, or the switches, or the fact that we don't even have outside rear dimming glass. There's nickel and diming in here that General Motors loves to do in order to save a penny, and that starts to come through. And if you're considering this over a different luxury brand, you're going to have to realize that this is nice, but it's not that final fit and finish that you get from a lot of the German brands or the Japanese brands. And that's unfortunate. It really is. I am often left disappointed with GM vehicles because of that. I entirely forgot to mention, but no Apple CarPlay or Android Auto support on here either. That is another aspect of the tech suite being an overall disappointment. General Motors has Android Auto and Apple CarPlay on their gasoline vehicles, and yet they take it away from their electrics here. It's a slap in the face to people who just want their vehicle to be nice to use on a day-to-day basis. Now, I understand that brands like Tesla don't have CarPlay and Android Auto, but they are planning on adding it. They've finally been giving in to the pressure, at least on CarPlay. And it's one thing to never have it in your system. Okay, well, Tesla doesn't have Apple CarPlay and Android Auto. I understand that. But the fact that GM does have this system in other cars and does offer it means they're simply being greedy and trying to get you to pay for their services more. They'll tell you that it's, oh no, we want you to use our system because we think it works better, and that way you can navigate and have Google Maps and actually see what your charge levels are and everything built in. That part is fair, that Google Maps does work better when you're using it baked into one of their EVs as opposed to using it on your phone. But that's not an excuse. Let me use my phone projection. I so much more prefer that. Big con, and a big reason that would prevent me from buying another General Motors electric vehicle. And that's because we own a Chevrolet Equinox EV, and I miss having CarPlay and Android Auto on it. My last pro, and this is going to lead me into my final thoughts here on the Escalade IQL. This is a leader in this full-size electric vehicle category. So I do have my reservations. I do have my frustrations with how GM finalized this vehicle and how some of the decisions were made about the ergonomics and the general interior, exterior of this car. But you have to admit, if you want a vehicle with this size and kind of this luxury and this powertrain, GM was the first one to do it. Cadillac here is the first full-size electric vehicle. I mean, yeah, the Rivian R1S was out, not nearly as useful, not nearly as large, not nearly as capable in a lot of ways. So this is what you get if you want an EV in this size, and for better or for worse, GM is the first one to do it, and they deserve kudos for that. So would I recommend it? It's tough because there's a lot I love. I love the powertrain. I love the ethos, and I love what Cadillac did here and how they pulled it off. I love the power opening doors. I love the wow factor of the vehicle. But if you're coming out of another very tech-forward vehicle like a Tesla, you're going to be disappointed with the tech suite in this vehicle. I'm sad to say it just doesn't work well enough to be satisfying and to be intuitive. But all that being said, let's throw the Escalade IQL on the Daily Motor Leaderboard. Current leaders of the Daily Motor Leaderboard: Kia K4, Hyundai Ioniq 9, and Subaru Outback Touring. Man, the Ioniq had some unfortunate cost cutting also, but it was $70,000, less than half of this. But it was a lot more capable. But the Ioniq was just better thought out inside. That's the big thing for me. It was the fact that from a day-to-day standpoint, I enjoyed using the Ioniq more than the Cadillac. And that's not how it should be. I mean, aside from the fact that this is a very large vehicle, I should get in and I should never want to get out of the Escalade IQL because of how nice it is. But the sound system was a disappointment, the tech is a disappointment. Can't wait to see this powertrain see itself into more and more General Motors vehicles. Please don't give up on it. Please give us an electric Suburban, an electric Yukon. We already got the Silverado, the Sierra. Please keep up with it because the engineering is fantastic. You just need a little bit better execution on the inside. All that being said, if you've got a big family or you tow things or you go big distances and you want to go EV, this is still your best option. So thank you all so much for watching. If you do want to see more on the Escalade IQL, check the link below for our sound system review and our highway range test, and we'll see you on the next one. I'm Charlie from Daily Motor, and as always, drive on.